Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, there was a hard struggle of many freedom fighters to liberate India. India's independence movement was a series of historic events and sacrifices by thousands of freedom fighters. There are many freedom fighters of India who've contributed to the independence movement, but their names faded. So we call them unsung heroes. And we want our youth to know. So there's this short video. Please have a look. Welcome back to our second set of sessions at National Youth Festival 2022. Well, my name is Bhavita Singh. I'm your MC. Good afternoon to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, that National Youth Festival 2022 is a unique national initiative to fuel the minds of young India. हमारे environment और climate leadership के section में अब हमें मिलने वाले हैं एक बहुत ही यूनिक और खास पर्सनालिटी, जी हाँ, जो एक इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं, फार्मर्स के फ्रेंड हैं, who is innovating a new form of natural farming that can turn India into a global agricultural leader. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, his farming efforts with tribal and small acreage farmers has won him the prestigious Rockefeller Award for the food visionary of the world. Here is Manoj Kumar with us, ladies and gentlemen, in conversation with Iram Mirza, who is an impact strategist and advisor to government on social innovation. Over to you, Iram ma'am.
Thank you so much. And it is an absolute privilege of mine to introduce and have a dialogue with who I call a renegade economist, development economist, and a friend of the farmer, जिन्होंने कुछ decades से अपनी पूरी life dedicate की है from the massive stretches of Vidarbha, tribal communities, Arakhu में, और अभी भी farming के ऊपर बहुत ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव काम किया है. Manoj, thank you so much for being a part of National Youth Festival and this edition. We're going to start this conversation एक ऐसे क्वेश्चन से. बहुत सारे युवा नागरिक यहाँ पर आए हुए हैं, हजारों और लाखों की संख्या में है. सबसे पहले मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप उनको अपने काम से अवगत करें. I want you to familiarize this audience who's joining us from all remote geographies, for them to know what agriculture farming is from your perspective.
First of all, thank you. This is such a privilege to be able to speak on the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, who is a youth icon and probably one of the inspiration for the youth, not just in India, but around the world. And it's fantastic for the voice of farmers to be part of the agenda. I represent not just Nandi Foundation, the NGO that I'm part of, not just the Araku coffee that became a brand out of Nandi's work 20 years. I actually represent, with a lot of humility, millions of small and marginal farmers in India who have less than 2 hectares of land and who actually feed this nation. So it's a terrific feeling that on this very inspiring day, the government has created a space, and I want to congratulate everyone for this who is behind this thought. So coming back to the question, in fact, the title itself, when I got, which says, "Can India be a leader in farming for the world?" I said, I will have to start with this title because I think it's very important people across India and the world distinguish in India's context the difference between farming and agriculture. I think the word farming itself came from a Western concept where it is predominantly animals that were in a farm. And with farming becoming more and more an economic activity, all that happened was it became an economic transaction. You put something into the soil and then you extract something out of the soil called crop. And that activity became farming. I think India did not start that way. For us, farming was not business. Farming was not economic activity. Farming was not a job. For us, it was agriculture. For India, farming or the idea of working with Mother Earth, producing food was a culture, was a way of life. In fact, just as yoga is a way of life and it's not a fitness activity, agriculture is a culture. It's how you lead a life, how you have your interactions with plants, animals, microbes, spiders, insects. And then from there, with nature, how do you harmonize and optimize nature to get food in a manner that you end up giving more to Mother Earth than exploiting her? This kind of a very humbling culture that we had was called agriculture, and that resulted in producing food, resulted in producing carbon and more microbes. Our agriculture by nature was defined to be regenerative. Farming is often terminal. After 5 years, you will hear people say, now this land is less productive. After 10 years, you want to sell the land and hope it becomes an SEZ or a mall. That's how farming, that's where farming takes you. Whereas agriculture, like original concepts of nature, it's still something that is giving, regenerating, multiplying. So that is what India had to offer. Right. That's what was the beginning. My work with the small farmers, especially Adivasis and small farmers, is to revitalize this old culture of India called agriculture, the most important culture. So that's what we are doing.
Can I take this very, very interesting point that you just talked about and take it further to say that you're actually revitalizing and reinstitutionalizing the indigenous wisdom, जो हमारी culture, traditional wisdom थी. And there's a lot of conversation that talks about कि organic, natural, regenerative farming अभी का concept है, right? और आपकी बातों से ऐसा लगता है कि ये हमारे इंडियन और हमारी सभ्यता में rooted था, right? It was already a part of the lifestyle and the culture, and the agriculture and farming actually dictated the entire lifestyle, which is more in harmony with the earth. Is that what you're trying to say?
Very much. So I think it is important to recognize the fact that when Indians started growing food, let's understand that first. Growing food, it was a transition from forest living, forest dwelling, taking fruits from the forest and living off the forest, to exploiting nature in the most harmonious manner. That is, you
Yeah.
sow rice, you sow wheat, you sow seeds of vegetables, lentils, and then you produce it. That exchange between human beings and Mother Earth in the Indian context began as early as the Vedic times. In fact, what is popular even in Europe, in Germany, promoted by Rudolf Steiner, which is one end of the biodynamic agriculture spectrum, or the various permaculture models and organic models that are around the world, you can trace roots to this Vedic agriculture, which fundamentally believed in regeneration. That is open pollination of seeds, number one, for instance, ensuring that at the end of a harvest, the farmer keeps what is needed for the house, the rest is bartered for the economy, for the village, and some part of is kept as seeds for next year, not only for their house, but for anyone else. So there was a very circular economy in those days that were already prevalent. And it is that which I am telling we need to revisit in a more scientific, but in a sustainable but industrial way, so that it becomes very, very exciting, very enterprising, and a win-win for both the farmer, the customer, and the planet.
All right. Now, that's again a very interesting insight there. But ये मुझे एक conversation जो हमारे बीच हुई थी, I want to bring it out in the public forum. बहुत ही interesting conversation थी जहाँ पे आप अपने experiences recount कर रहे थे. जो हमारे युवा नागरिक यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, उनके लिए मैं ये बता दूं कि मनोज जी की 365 दिन में 360 दिन वो रिमोट ज्योग्राफीज में होते हैं, गांव में होते हैं, inaccessible जगहों पे होते हैं, where you have a lot of these small acreage farmers, right? आपने मुझे एक anecdote बताया था, which I think I should coax you to bring it out in public, about a post-COVID template. कैसे perception change हुआ है? COVID ने आकर के हमारी काफी perception change की है. The conversation around food has changed. Conversation around nutrition has changed. Wellness mainstream हो गया है. So tell us about this particular anecdote, this conversation with a small acreage, simple folk farmer that you had in Vidarbha, if I'm not mistaken, right?
जी नहीं, तो पहले आई विल से दैट कोविड के बहुत पहले हम 300-350 दिन साल में बोल सकते हैं गांवों में घूमते थे. फिलहाल कम होते गए क्योंकि the culture and the science we had got transformed into the farmers, and I'm able to spend more time in cities. And अब पिछले 2-3 साल में तो बहुत ही कम घूमने को मिला हमको. लेकिन अभी भी ये कोविड के पीक टाइम भी the only activity that has been happening properly in the Indian economy without interruption, if you ask me, it has been farmers tilling land, farmers sowing crops. That is why we have been constantly getting food around the year. So somewhere food is produced by a farmer. So I used these 3 years despite lockdown, jab bhi mauka mila, to go to meet my farmers, learn from them, get inspired from them. There is no other profession which needs more resilience than agriculture. There is no other way of living which is about managing all the crisis and still be generous and giving. So going to them is always inspiring. So in one such journey, the good thing about meeting farmers is that you're constantly listening to stories and constantly getting inspired. So the one you're referring to is where one of the farmers told me in Wardha, in the Vidarbha region, that Manoj ji, एक चीज बताइए, ये समझ में नहीं आता है, that we hear that शहर में हर कोई जो है is working hard, कंपनी में काम कर रहे, चाहे वो फिल्म स्टार हो, शाहरुख खान जैसे या सलमान खान जैसे या क्रिकेटर हो, विराट कोहली जैसे कोई भी हो, हमको ये सुनने को मिल रहा है कि आफ्टर एवरीथिंग we hear that their ultimate goal after all success and money, especially now we hear, is to have a farmhouse, a farm, and produce own food and eat. And they all started giggling around this lady and said, "Yahi to hum karte aaye hue hain." And after, we don't understand why these learned and rich people think that finally ultimate enlightenment is actually, or ultimate happiness is to grow your own food and eat.
Right.
So they said, this is बहुत अजीब लगता है हमको कि शायद कोविड ने ये चीज लोगों को बताया कि the thrill of and the importance of food being made with your own hands under your supervision वो कितना महत्वपूर्ण है. So the point, the example why I told you earlier also talking is the fact that we have taken food for granted. हमको तो लगता है कि बच्चों को पूछेगा आजकल शहर में फूड कहाँ से आते हैं, उन लोग बोलेगा ऐप से आते हैं, मोबाइल. इसके पहले बोलता था फ्रिज से आता था, रेफ्रिजरेटर से, और उसके पहले बोलता था मम्मी खिलाते हैं. मतलब the knowledge of food over the last many decades have been progressing unfortunately in this direction. And we have been distancing from not just the farmer, but the concept of food, the economics of food, the politics of food, the sociology of food. And मैं तो कहूँगा कि that is really the cultural erosion we as a society are going to face and is facing.
Right.
The more you distance from food, it means the more you distance from Mother Earth.
Right.
And that disconnect is very, very dangerous.
Right. Now, taking this particular insight, and if I were to phrase it, and this is a question जो कि बहुत सारे हमारे participants और audience जो हमें लाखों और करोड़ों की तादाद में join करके देख रही है, how can the farmers, be embedded consciousness में वापस? वो रास्ता क्या है? Because अगर हमने वो रास्ता clear कर लिया, then there's no obstacle in turning India to be a nerve center. The future of farming, as the topic itself says, the future of food, is going to start with India, and it could be a global leadership template, almost like a food visionary. तो आपके thoughts क्या है इसके ऊपर, और कैसे ये link हो सकता है?
So देखिए, what हमारा संस्था जो है नांदी फाउंडेशन, नांदी's last 20 years work with small farmers, शुरुआत में around 6 to 7 years, early 6 to 7 years, was trying to understand what are the challenges of a farmer. Why is that agriculture in the regenerative organic way not done by everyone? As a routine, why is it that there is this struggle of monocropping, chemical farming, farmer suicides? Why is this not the way it was supposed to be? This was our challenge, and it took us a while to understand, and that's how we worked in this tribal region of Araku, which is in Visakhapatnam district of Andhra Pradesh in South India, in the Eastern Ghats. The reason we chose that place for a very long experiment. In fact, I say this experiment, and what comes to my mind is what the Honorable Prime Minister said recently. Narendra Modi ji had mentioned that he exhorted, actually, and this was music to us. He said that something to the effect of, we all need to go back to the lab of nature. Victorian poets wrote about lab of nature. He said about the lab, the laboratory of nature. And that's where we should get our science inspiration to create the agriculture that India was famous for. And I think that's the essence. What we did in Araku is we went to the lab of nature, what the Prime Minister said. And that lab, in nature's lab that we did the experiment over the years, ended up creating the world's best coffee today, called Araku coffee. And what we did there was to prove to the youth of India that if in the remotest part, which was infested with Naxals I mean, that's the way it was described. If you Google that place, it used to always come Naxal infested. Naxals have to be seen as a threat. Nobody can go there, extreme deprivation. Then you read somewhere about maternal mortality in that region. Then you saw that there was no soil in the region. It was called semi-wasteland. So such a tribal population living, you know, I sometimes even called it was something that was falling off the map. That
Right.
kind of a remoteness it had.
Right.
We said, if we can do the experiment with nature in such a place,
Ji.
then it will prove that it has stood the test of science.
Right.
And that's what we did. And what did it require? We had to go back to agriculture. And the tribal population there were perfect for it because they worshipped nature, believed in nature, and said we will be able to go back. So our work was focusing on soil. And this is what I want to say. Our food and our health is going to be as good as the health of the soil where it is grown.
Right.
In fact, working with the Adivasis and with the experts from around the world on regenerative agriculture, the first learning I had, and which I want to submit to the youth who is listening, we should have the humility to know that life above the soil, hum sabka, our lives, are fully supported by life below the soil. If the microbes, if the bacteria under the soil, if the organic matter, if the carbon under the soil does not exist, we have a problem. So what we did in Araku was to bring back mulching, bring back cow dung, herbs, dry leaves, everything back to create new topsoil. And with that, we started the agriculture around coffee because that region grew coffee during British time. And then we had pepper, then we had fruit trees, pulses, and finally, what we did is the way we do for the way finance managers and wealth managers do portfolio management for investment for you, we started planning for each tribal family a portfolio of what and all crops to have. So from a forest dweller to a very poor tribal, their life changed to they becoming estate owners. Each tribal family had 1 acre of coffee estate with pepper in it and 1 acre of fruit estate. And in between, they grew their other crops. And soon, we told all of them that you can create a legacy not just for India, but for yourself and the entire next generation around India itself, in the way that you will create world-class produce. It was very important that we don't produce just coffee, but produce the world's best coffee. We don't produce pepper, but produce the world's best pepper. And all it required was the passion, the hard work, the commitment on one hand, which was the farmer's part, but the other was agriculture. Go back to the natural agricultural practices of focusing on soil, focusing on the biomes, focusing on diversity. And this is how we worked with the farmers, with the community, and started bringing in world's coffee expert to Araku.
Ji.
Because it's very important that we have to learn, if India has to be what we call Atmanirbhar Bharat, what is important is we need to be excellent in what we do.
Ji.
Not because of cost advantage. Let us not be a China. Let us be known for the best produce. And if in any sector we have really the most natural competitive advantage, it is to be the world's leader in food. We can feed the world with the best nutritious food. And that's what the tribals of Araku showed. And it is that what gave Nandi the humble recognition, which I think is a recognition for the tribal farmers and other farmers, which was the Rockefeller Foundation from USA gave us the award for the, what you can call as the visionary framework that will define the future food system that is sustainable. That kind of an award we got for this work. And we, as a respect to the Mother Earth of that region, called this economic framework Arakunomics, because it showed that planet can be revived, Mother Earth can be regenerated, but every farmer can be profitable.
Right.
Today, an Araku farmer who has been with us for 10 years is a guaranteed lakpati, making 1 lakh minimum profit per acre every year.
Right.
So,
No, so-
we showed it is possible in Araku. We replicated it in Varda, because Varda and the Vidarbha region became infamous.
Ji.
I mean, it was a shame that the people of the farmers of Vidarbha were only known to be suicide prone. They had one of the highest per capita suicides amongst farmers.
Ji.
And it had a number of reasons, and we wanted to change it. This is the same place, the same Varda where Vinoba Bhave and Mahatma Gandhi hoped in their ashram Sevagram to create the blueprint for India's agriculture. So we did economics in Varda also. And then people said, what about towns and cities?
Right.
Because what people do in the city is what the rural India follows most of it.
Right.
So we started doing it in Delhi, now in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Himachal, etc., and showed that you can do it in Delhi also, in cities also, that this agriculture can be done anywhere. And if it can be done anywhere in India, it can be done anywhere in the world. So we ended up creating a template for agriculture for every Indian youth and every farmer's child to take and run with it, but also has offered it for the world. And I'm happy to explain it later. But just to get a sense of what it is, I think if you can show what we did in Delhi, that could be it's just a 2-minute video, which will show how we stopped the crop burning issue. As you know, in Delhi, it became very famous that in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi neighborhoods, farmers in a hurry, they only grow predominantly wheat and paddy, and they then burn the crop residue. We went as a group, told those farmers wherever we could that you don't have to burn it, we will buy it. So we used large machinery, took all the crop residue, prevented it from burning, and then converted it into compost, into topsoil, which is nutritious topsoil, gave it to farmers and created nutritious vegetables to show that we can have a new way of, not just for the soil, but for the atmosphere also, a new agricultural model, which was originally India's model. No farmer in the past burned their crop residue. It was tilled and put back into their soil. So this short term, everything should be done like this. It is this culture that we have to reverse. So I would appeal to you, if you can, to show that 2-minute video if it's possible.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल हमारे ऑडियंस जो हमें सुन रहे हैं, it'll be a great thing for us to show the videos and they get to see. अभी तक तो हम सिर्फ बात कर रहे हैं.
Thank you.
At the advent of fall-winter season in Delhi, the air pollution hits its peak, leading to widespread cardiovascular diseases and other health risks. The annual burning of crop residue acts as a trigger to the diminishing air quality. However, most farmers in India still believe stubble burning is a quick, cheap, and efficient way to prepare their farm for the next cycle. The good news is that it is possible to flip this around into a positive symbiotic cycle. Urban Farms Co., an initiative of Nandi Foundation, is creating a model that works positively for farmers, consumers, and the environment. The Urban Farms Co. Agriculture Hub in Delhi acts as a one-stop ecosystem to support small farmers transform their land using regenerative organic agriculture. Urban Farms Co. procures local crop stubble before it is burnt. This carbon-rich stubble, along with other local organic waste material, is converted into high-quality farm inputs through specialized processes. This pro-microbial plant food is returned back to the local farm soils, initiating a positive regenerative journey. Each smallholding farmer enjoys the convenience and cost effectiveness of the hub while benefiting from a soil that is increasing in fertility year on year. Large quantities of nutrient-dense chemical-free produce is available to the community. Clean air, nutritious food and abundant water for a truly healthy society. Urban Farms Co. procures and prevents burning of over 1 million kilograms of paddy stubble each year. Urban Farms Co. has also introduced regenerative organic agriculture to local farmers and produces over 100,000 kilograms of delicious, nutrient-dense vegetables every month in a model that is now profitable for all.
Wow, that is the future of farming as we see. So that actually brings me to a very interesting question, which is that I think for a lot of these problem statements that come up, जैसे कि stubble burning है, हमारी जो solutions हैं, they are based within the indigenous technology, which are the nature-based solutions, right? Often and more than often, the big technologies आ जाती हैं, लेकिन ये जो technology is a framework, right? अगर हम इसमें अपने इंडिजिनस नेचर बेस्ड सॉल्यूशंस को, जैसे आप सॉइल की बात कर रहे थे, सिंपलेस्ट ऑफ द सॉल्यूशन हियर, तो हमारी जो ऑडियंस है, आप उनको बताइए कि तकनीकी जो हम बात करते हैं, it doesn't have to be the hardware, how it could just be a nature based software that we are putting together.
Bilkul. So I will take 30 seconds to refer to the film we showed and mention that 2 points. One, what you saw there was we are creating a network of youth farmers around that model farm. So we are telling youth, if you have a piece of land, whether it is here or any other place, we create like IT technology park and software export parks that came up in the 90s. We are creating food parks where other farmers work as a spoke and we work as the hub. We give them everything, we then buy back, give them the market, and each transaction is profitable so that each farmer becomes an entrepreneur. That was one thing that was part of that story, by which this agriculture wisdom, this technology, this science that is there with tribals of Araku, which is there with the farmers of Vidarbha now, we wanted it to expand across India. And so different places we created this model so that farmers can work as entrepreneurs, as estate owners. That's what that film showed. The second part the film showed is that the entire transformation technology that you saw from stubble burning prevention to nutritious soil is fully indigenous and what was done hundreds of years ago in India itself.
Wow.
Now it will be seen as we have sequestered carbon, we have done circular economy, we have converted waste to wealth, but in reality, what we have done is we have rephrased and repackaged the agricultural science that existed with us, the native, indigenous, original Indian wisdom that we have exploited in a scientific framework with measurability, with people can repeatedly inspect and check, and we really are converting this whole process to a dynamic laboratory-based experiment, except that the lab is in the nature. So I think it's very important, the point you made, which is we have to recognize that most of the complex problems have very simple solutions.
Right. Also, most of it nature-based, I believe.
Absolutely. I was coming to that. And most of them, the solution lies when you are proximate to the problem, when you are close to the problem. And in the case of food and agriculture, you have to be close to nature.
Right.
Mother Nature, see, it's important to understand, like the human body,
Ji.
Mother Nature or the planet have withstood millions of years.
Right.
Human body much less, Mother Nature millions of years. So there is a science that has evolved over time, and we need to see how that functions and then convert it into replicable templates.
Right.
So
Now, when you
that's what is the agricultural science we try to promote, which is regenerative in nature rather than terminal in nature.
Right. Now, when you speak about this template of agriculture, right? और आपने अभी indigenous wisdom से modern तकनीकी शब्दावली का भी इस्तेमाल किया, उसमें से एक शब्दावली आती है unicorns, right? वो unicorn often इस्तेमाल किया जाता है mostly modern technology driven enterprises में. But I believe, and what I can look at it, this ecosystem of small agricultural unicorns that you're enabling, that the organic regenerative farming could enable, that आप जैसे कि मैंने आपके इंट्रोडक्शन में भी बात की थी कि अराकू के ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी से वर्धा से ग्लोबल मार्केट्स तक, when you say कि your coffee now sells at the best of the Parisian salons और world का best produce है, in that journey the agricultural unicorns, a farmer entrepreneurial movement, right, small and marginalized farmers का entrepreneurial movement कितना critical है हमारी economy को fuel करने, more than that to भारत को एक जैसे कि फूड विजनरी के तरह देखने में, what is the journey to you looks like?
हम तो पॉपकॉर्न और मेज का कॉर्न खा के आए हुए हैं, तो यूनिकॉर्न एकदम नया शब्द है, लेक्सिकन बिल्कुल नया है, आई एग्री. एंड इनफैक्ट कल परसों मैंने पढ़ा था कि इंडिया हैज इन द लास्ट 2 years sort of increased the number of unicorns that we created through our entrepreneurial skills, which is a good thing. Wealth created is always good by legal means and ethical means. The question remains, you know, it is one thing to create unicorns using technology, etc., but I think we need to see unicorn in the context of a much broader sense when it comes to agriculture. So if you take the example, apart from the mythical nature of the idea of unicorn, it is basically something almost impossible you try to achieve at a short time. And it is normally in a patriarchal number sense. If you cross $1 billion, then you call it a unicorn. That's the journalistic sense to unicorn now.
Right.
But what I would like to pay attention is India has to look at unicorns differently from an agricultural point of view. And I will use a small example. In Araku, if you take a place like Araku, when the first 1,000 farmers started touching annual profit of ₹1 million, you know, it's 1,000 million. To me, 1,000 million is $1 billion. So you created ₹1 billion of net profit in a tribal region. To me, each small farmer who is making $1 million out of an acre, the return on investment is so amazing. To me, they are unicorns in themselves.
Right.
And their collective is the kind of large unicorn that we should as a nation aspire to become. Because the challenges that they are creating, they are solving, are not only just solutions, but they are sustainable solutions. The beauty of regenerative agriculture-based profits is that they are sustainable. The beauty of regenerative agriculture as a process is that it does not deplete soil, it does not reduce the planet, it enhances.
Right.
Tell me The idea of profit itself is when somebody makes loss.
जी.
So it's very fascinating that the profit which we celebrate as unicorn is often at the cost of something. Whereas
Right.
the unicorns that I am talking, where 1 million farmers in India, at 10 million farmers in India become profitable using regenerative agriculture.
Right.
Not only are we creating billions, but we are creating sustainable billions. This is at the money level, at the planet level. And for those who eat that food, we are going to be full of immunity, full of nutrition, because that is what regenerative agriculture offers. To me, that situation of taking agricultural sector to a different glory is what I call the country itself creating a million unicorns. And that, to my mind, is really what will put India in the world map. Because till now, my humble submission that this great nation of ours have offered to the world at a leadership level, if you ask me, Gandhi as an idea, truth and nonviolence.
Right.
We have given yoga as an idea.
Right.
It's still India's best offer. And maybe in lighter vein, I can say maybe Bollywood music. Any part of the world loves Bollywood music.
Right.
But tell me really, other than these three, what has India offered? Maybe the 50 clutch of IT managers who are leading global CEO companies as CEOs, but nothing beyond. So there is genuinely an opportunity for India. I won't say just the word soft power, but India to be the aspirational nation through its best export, which is India's true culture,
Right.
which is agriculture.
Right.
Through this regenerative agriculture, India can feed the world with nutritious food, and we have that gift from nature. We have the best rainfall, the best sunshine, the complete diversity in terroir, and most importantly, a billion population who can till the land and transform this country's land and water into the world's best basket of nutritious food. So my appeal is, let us focus for 2020s to be the decade for India becoming a superpower with her agriculture and export that agriculture and thereby become a world leader in food. That's what I will appeal. And that's when India becomes a unicorn.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think to essence and to sum this discussion up, right? I think the human capital of this country needs to come in and take this up. And I'm sure कि ये discussion देख के हमारे जो agriculture unicorns की आपकी philosophy है, the concept of looking at indigenous wisdom, right? The concept of exporting food, nutritious food, this organic natural farming as the most prolific idea into the world would be absolutely fascinating for us to see how the youth mobilizes. And taking from the anecdote जो आपने बताया था आपकी conversation में, what is a message that you want to give out to youth for the purpose and the true calling and the meaningfulness and the chase around the real unicorn of India embedded in its culture?
First and foremost, I will tell to every youth in India that compete with yourself. The only obsession you should have is, will you be at your best? And anything you do, will you try to excel? This is the broad philosophy. This philosophy we took to the tribal communities. It was to tell them, let us bring the mentality of excelling. But the second, much more stronger foundation of values that we should not forget is that India's strength has been her agriculture, her interaction with the planet. The world is today talking about climate change. The world is talking about the crisis. Let me tell you, India can show the world that the way she produces food, the way she consumes food, and the way she has an interaction with food is a complete solution for all the crises, from poverty to health to climate change. So let us create 1 million food entrepreneurs who used to be called farmers one time. We need to shift every farmer to become a food entrepreneur. We have to help the farmer to use the regenerative agriculture methods and go up the value chain and ensure that you create profit for yourself, nutrition for the community who is consuming it, and regenerate the planet, which we call this the PQR concept. And that's what we try to tell in a simple way to the youth. So that's my appeal. And India's strength is her richness in diversity, be it languages, be it festival, be it religion, be it the fertility of our minds and thought. The same applies to our land and natural resources. Let's enrich it, let's protect it, let's not destroy it. We did that by mistake, already doing monocropping.
Right.
We followed a Western model at some time due to some emergency, at some mistake. Let's change that. Let's go into biodiversity. Let's go into regenerative agricultural methods and ensure that this new youth that is going to take over the mantle of agriculture, they will bring back the glory that India should be famous for. That's my message. And we can do it even now. If you just take one example, the example of my favorite example, I will end with this, which is bananas. You know, today it's important to know that 48% of the world's bananas are just one variety, in a North American variety called Cavendish. All the other bananas have been eliminated and made into one. Because the West likes industrialization, likes only everything one language, one crop, one soil, one solution, one medicine, one technology. India said no. We have been constantly saying no to this one syndrome. And we have, if you take my small state of Kerala, for instance, and therefore, or Uttar Pradesh, or Maharashtra, different regions you go, we have so many varieties of bananas. India totally has cultivated 1,000 types of bananas. And we have never had the kind of pest attack that the Americans had. The earlier variety got completely destroyed by pests. So let us not create this monoculture. Let's create a completely diverse, regenerative agriculture, and in the process become the forefront of food leaders in the world. That's my appeal, and that's what I hope the youth of India will do. Because who is it that doesn't eat food?
Yes, of course, yes. What an absolute fantastic conversation. बहुत शुक्रिया आपका मनोज जी. आपने समय निकाला, आप नेशनल यूथ फेस्टिवल के इस एडिशन में आए, हमसे बातें की, इतनी सारी इंसाइट्स थी, इतनी सारी रेवलेशंस थी. So thank you once again. This was an absolute wonderful conversation, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Jai Hind.
Well, thank you so much once again. We would, like to thank our speakers, how insightful this session has been. I mean, it was fantastic I think it was all about how we can turn adversities into opportunities. So we have the resources, we have human capital, we have everything what it takes. All we need is execution. So I think when we think about our glory that we should have, all we have to do is move forward and create millions of unicorns. Let's turn our farmers into food entrepreneurs and bring back the glory that India should have. Thank you so much for this brilliant and insightful session. It was extremely inspiring. Thanks a lot. Once again, we would like to thank Manoj sir, Iram ma'am. Thank you so much for this session.